Hey everybody, I'm Undrai Fizer and welcome to Profoundly Speaking. We do this every Sunday at this time. We have this thought-provoking conversation, uh, clarity, principle, especially for those who still find the gospel being a good news. We still see the good news as great news. To those who haven't lost the great news. And sometimes because we know that God holds our life in his hands, we never want to disappoint him. We'll disappoint others. And sometimes we could really be angry at God, but what are you going to say to the person whom you perceive to just take your life? The person who's holding your breath in his hand. You'll be mad at him, but you will never grow really sore against him. We'll sometimes project that anger on somebody else. Because what are you going to constantly say to the person whom you feel has the power over your life? And when you know that your life is in his hands, you don't wake up unless God wants you to wake up. You are not going to curse him out. You may live raggedy or you may make mistakes and constantly flatter the person who has the power over your life. And sometimes the anger that we have towards God or the anger that we have towards ourselves, we will project that hurt and that offense to another person who may be close. I remember, I didn't know why I'm going this way, but I remember when I was younger, when I was living at home and my parents were alive. And my mother and father, they separated. And my father went back to Louisiana to live. And I remember my mother would get in so many anger fits against me. And I used to wonder, why are you mad at me so much? And I'm not doing anything to you. Now, my father was a minister too, but he fell on hard times. And all of a sudden, here I am, a minister. And my mother would fight my father through me. What she always wanted to tell my father, she would tell me. She would attribute her pain to my father and put it on me. And I remember one day I said, Mom, are you mad at Daddy? Are you mad at me because I look like him? And I'm close, so I'm in the vicinity. So she would project what she would want to say to my father. She would put it on me and take out the punishment on me. And sometimes, do we do that? Are we projecting what we really want to say to God? Are we projecting the anger that we have in being a believer? How many of you are saved on this line right now, by a show of hands? Now, are you saved against your will? Are you feeling mismanaged or micromanaged to be committed to something you don't want to be committed to, but because your life is on the line, I gotta do it? Are you wanting to live free from the obligation or free from the power of the person who's providing you with life? And because I can't do what I want to do, because it's going to show the person who has my life in his hands that I really want to take him for granted, but I don't want him to think that I'm taking him for granted. Are you angry at the love of God because you feel you have to pay it back? Are you angry at the love of God who's went beyond himself to show you your worth and you want to live it less? Are you feeling obligated because you want to live this great life in a convenient way when the person who saw you like he sees himself is treating you like himself, but you would rather him treat you in the convenience that you see yourself, and you're feeling split between the expectation? Are you angry at that responsibility? Is it a responsibility? Do you feel you owe him for that? Do you feel you owe God for seeing you in a great way when you really want to exist conveniently? So let me take this anger out on those who keep that mirror in my face. Am I making sense to you? Or do you still see the good news as good news? Has this salvation lifted your self-esteem? Because if we're saved and still feel bad about ourselves, are we really walking in the power of the truth? Has this salvation elevated my esteem of myself? Has this salvation elevated how I see myself? Has this salvation empowered me to celebrate myself and my existence in the boldness from which I live? Or am I still walking in fear? Have I diminished? Have I diminished God's approval as though it's nothing? And I'm seeking other people to give me approval that I'm going to value. You know, I'm a father of 3. I validated and approved all my sons. But when my sons want approval from their friends, they would diminish my approval. See, I can't lift up my sons' emotion if they want their friends to do it. If they found value in their friends' approval, they would never find value in mine. If you found value in God's approval, and I'm not talking about reaching for God's approval when you're mad at people, because sometimes when people hurt us, we'll say, I got it, I'm gonna go to God. Well, we're only going to God because we're mad at those who we want to validate us, those who we have a secret desire to validate us. And when they upset us, we go to God. Well, you're never going to see God if you're going to God out of anger of what somebody else put you through. Am I making sense? See, if whoever's approval I adore, that would determine how I live up to it. If I love God, if I'm yielding to that attention, God's approval would keep me strengthened. But when God's approval is less than, I will need another person's approval to strengthen me. So I'm asking you questions, and thanks for joining me for Profoundly Speaking. I was going away I wasn't thinking about. Has this enlightenment of yours, has it strengthened and had an effect on your self-esteem by a show of hands? What has it done to your self-esteem? What has salvation? What has enlightenment? What effect has it had on your self-esteem and how you perceive yourself and your adequacy? How has enlightenment affected your self-esteem? Because I'm going to give you a secret to enlightenment. Enlightenment is never a group thing. All of us can be together on this live or in fellowship or at church, and we can all hear the teacher say the same thing, but everyone will not be moved, even though we've all heard the same thing. We have all access to the same information. We have access to the same thought, the same worship, the same music. Just because we're all in a building don't really mean we've heard the word for ourselves, even though we've heard teaching. I hear preaching, but have I yet to hear the word? I hear teaching, but have I heard the word? Write that down. I hear teaching, but have I heard the word? Enlightenment is never to a group. An awakening never happens at the same time. No one gets it all at the same time. But whatever you got in your enlightenment, in salvation, did it have an effect on your self-esteem? Did it shift your identity by elevating how you esteem yourself? And even though you say you are worth it, that you got to know your worth, Are you living up to the value of that work that you know? Have you yielded yourself? Because let me tell you something. You don't try to yield. Whatever you want, you've already yielded yourself to. It's a want because you've yielded to it. It's not something that you see outside of you and then say, I got to yield. Whatever we want, we've already yielded to it. Write that down. Whatever we want, we've already yielded to it. Whatever we yearn for, we already have given attention to it. You live in the posture of attention. You live with your posture already there. Now, as a teacher, I'm going to dissect it. But when you live it, you never dissect what you naturally live. What we live is never dissected. We're so busy doing it. And see, when you've yielded to something, you put it on the schedule of your mind and you fix yourself to not be distracted from it. You ever had plans and marked it on a calendar and then something different came up? Well, it made you mad because you were already geared on going somewhere. You were already planning. All of your mind, all of your attention was prepared for this particular moment on your schedule. All of the days leading to the schedule was leading you emotionally to the culmination of what's going to happen on the schedule. And you are praying and living and avoiding distractions because you don't want anything to come up and block you from the schedule. Now, if you are yielded to the power of who you are, and if you are yielded, if you have excellence on the schedule, you won't let little petty things come and distort you from what you have on the schedule. How many of you have excellence in your mental consciousness? Now, see, when you have excellence and your kingdom life on schedule in your mental consciousness, you will overthrow every little petty conversation or any other thing that somebody throws in the way because I have excellence on my schedule. But if you have regular on your schedule, you're going to block excellence from distracting you from excellence, from distracting you from regular. If you have regular in your attention, whenever a God thing comes up or anything to get you connected to this path that you said you were on, you are going to block that out of favor of the regular that you plan. Now, I can't determine what's regular to you, but you know what your heart is yielded to. And whatever your heart is yielded to, you won't call it regular, you will call it important. So it'll come across like I'm judging what's important or not. The thing is, whatever you yield to is important to you. That's the kingdom you're yielding to, regardless of how little it looks to anybody else. And you could find yourself in a hurtful disposition when spirituality is compared to your choice. Am I making sense to you? How has your spirituality elevated your self-esteem? Has it increased how you see yourself to the point your decision making and what you do in life is divinely affected by this spirituality on your life? It has impacted how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself. And how many of you still find the gospel as being good news? Or do you feel you're being saved against your will? Do you feel you being held accountable to a glory you don't want to do? Are you hurt because you feel God is expecting out of you what you don't have the desire to give back? Do you feel that God is persuading you to not do nothing wrong? Do you feel that the Holy Spirit is compelling you to live and don't do nothing wrong and don't think nothing wrong and don't make no mistakes? Do you feel under pressure that you got to be perfect? Is God looking for you to not make any mistakes? Are you angry at that challenge? Because whatever you want most, you give most. And you never think of letting anybody down who you've yielded your attention to naturally. You only fear mistakes when you're living something you don't want to. Because when you're having fun and enjoying where you are, there is no fear. When you're living where your heart is happy, there is no fear. When you are living in a zone that has brought joy to you, there is no fear. When you are living in a realm that you trust with your life, there is no fear. When you're living your heart's desire, you're already yielded. There is no fear. There is no fear of mistakes or doing wrong. You are living a fearless life because I'm living where I want to be. When I'm living who I want to be, there is no fear. When I'm existing as I want to be, there is no fear. There isn't even the fear of someone's judgment or criticizing me. There is not even a fear that I'm doing anything wrong. Because when I'm where I trust myself to be, anybody else's opinion toward me doesn't even matter. Because in this community that I'm living in, of where I want to be, I don't hear any judgment. Because if I'm living where I want to be, I'm validated. I'm approved. I'm approved and accepted to be here. And those in this community want me here. And when I know that I'm wanted here, I feel good. When I want to be where I'm also wanted, I feel wonderful. How many of you are where you want to be and you're wanted there? They want me here, not to use me, but to utilize all of the great potential that I am. And so I'm happy. I have joy. I have no fear. Anyone else's opinion on me matters not. But when my salvation or my enlightenment hasn't had an effect on my self-esteem, I'm always watching to see if I'm wrong. I'm always watching to see if I'm accepted. I'm doing what I think is right, but I don't know that it's right because someone's going to say that it's not right. But it's right if I experience the fruit that my heart desires. It's not right based on if you like it. It's right based on if the fruit that I desire is appearing. And if the life that I desired has appeared, then I did it correctly. Now, life is not a manual or a direction where I got to read it and I got to see it as a formula. No, when I see what I put in come back to me, I did it right. When the life I seek comes back to me, I did it right. I did it correctly because now I'm satisfied and I have no more questions. When my life has fulfilled itself, I have no questions. I'm walking in power because it's eradicated my questions. I have nothing else to ask. I don't have to ask. I have it. I don't have to ask. I have it. But if I'm living and I'm still asking, I don't yet have it. I don't have to think if I'm doing it right when it appears. Am I making sense to you? I don't have to think. I don't have to think about it when it's appearing to me. If I see God, I don't have to ask to see him. Once I see him, I don't have to see him again. Has this enlightenment had a profound impact on your self-esteem? Do you feel good being you? You may like how you look, but are you finding God's presence as you? Because when you don't like you, and when you can't be with you, you're saying you can't be with God's presence as you. Are you good in the community of yourself? Are you feeling excellence in the community of you? How do you esteem yourself? Has this awakened and elevated your skills? Has it elevated your discipline? Has it elevated your mentality? Has it elevated your disciplines and your stewardship? Has it elevated you? You may pay bills, but are you paying you well for existing in you? What blessing are you receiving for being in you? What blessing are you experiencing for being yourself? Is the spirit killing you? I said that in one of a teaching I did Thursday. Are you finding happiness in the convenience of life and you're finding yourself angry at the spirit? Are you really mad at God because you feel he's holding you accountable to an excellent life when you really want him to accept just the convenient life that you're willing to give? Are you angry at him and fighting everyone who represents him because you feel you're being held against your will in living a potential that God knows you're capable of? Are you living the fullness of who you know yourself to be? If not, why are you holding yourself back from the fullness? Are you holding yourself back from the fullness of who you know you are? And you're angry at people who are holding you accountable to a fullness that you are running back from? Do you want people to accept you as you are when really the spirit of wisdom is not accepting what you have chosen upon yourself? Are you angry at the constant conviction that's revealing that you're holding yourself back from your greatest reality? Do you want to make your greatest life your most convenient life, and you're angry at those who's not allowing that convenience to be justifiable? Are you angry because I'm going to tell you something? This gospel is still good news. This whole reality of the kingdom is good news, excellent news. But what makes it a struggle? What makes this life a struggle? Is it because we want too less? Is it that we want acceptance because we want less? Are we angry that we are wanting beneath who we really are? Because this news is still good. Is this gospel good news to you? Or are you still trying to get better? Is this a power of trying to modify our behavior and get better? Are we trying to get better? Because I'm going to tell you something. When you live a life of no fear, that's a happy life. When you live a life of no fear, that's a happy life. Because you don't feel that you're being obligated to a life you don't want. When you live the life you want, it's a happy life. When it's the life I want, I fear no one else's judgment. When it's the life I want, I fear no one else's judgment. I only fear judgment if somebody put a God thing on me and I'm not wanting to be a God thing. I only feel a judgment when I said I wanted to be a God thing, but I really want to live a flesh thing. So I'm feeling convicted because I said I wanted to live a God thing, and there is someone holding me accountable to the God thing that I said I wanted, but I really want another thing. Do you want a lower life, or are you really wanting the high life? Because when you want the great life, there is no fear. There is no hiding. There is no hiding because you want that life. You are not trying to live somebody else's life. Let me tell you something. I wrote this earlier. Bridget texted me to let me know I'm making sense. I wrote something earlier. What did I write? When I believe in a person, I hold them accountable. When they subject to the accountability, they believe in themselves also. When I really believe in you, what I do is set a standard that you are what you said. I hold you accountable. When you say I'm the divine, I set it in my mind that I'm looking at a divine being. I hold it accountable. To hold somebody accountable is not to make them do what you tell them to do. See, I think that I think when we hear "I'm gonna hold you accountable," we think that it's telling a person what to do. No, holding it accountable means I accept what it says. I bought a couple of vehicles out there. I hold those vehicles accountable in being a vehicle. In other words, I bought that car. I expect it to be a car, not a bike. I'm holding it accountable to its design. I'm saying this is what it is. Now, when the car subjects itself to being a car, it believes it's a car also. When I believe in a person, I'm saying you are what you said you are. And that's how I will forever look at you. But when you subject yourselves to what you said, it means you believe it too. So when you believe it and I believe it, we produce it. But what's happening, I'm holding people accountable to something they said but did not want. That's called hypocrisy. That's called being hypocritical. When you say one thing, but your yielding proves another. So it's like, don't hold me to that. Stop making me that. But the thing is, if you say that's who you are, I'm not making you anything. I'm honoring what you said. So that's all I'm going to see. That's all I'm going to look for out of you. I'm going to always look for what you said you are. Let me know I'm making sense. Am I making sense, guys? When I hold you accountable, it means I'm believing you are who you said you were. And that's all I'm going to look for from you is what you said you are. I'm not going to look for anything less. I'm going to look for everything that affirms that you are who you are. And when you subject yourself to that accountability, it means that you believe that that's who you are too. So if I give you any assignments, or if I give you anything, I'm only giving assignments to people who find happiness in being who they are. I'm not giving you work. I'm giving you responsibilities. I'm not giving you something to weigh you down. I'm giving you what you said you eat. I'm giving you your happiness. And whenever someone is constantly giving me what makes me happy, I'm called blessed. I'm calling it a breakthrough because this person is feeding me with the things that bless me. Am I making sense? This person is constantly giving me everything that blesses me. This teacher, this coach, this mentor is constantly taking me to places that bless me. This mentor is constantly feeding me and leaving in my room all of the things that bless me. I feel I'm on a vacation. I'm going to explode. I'm going to blow up because the thing that makes me happy God has given me someone to give me all of these happy things. When you are held accountable, it's people believing that you are who you say you are. And because you say you are that, because you can't say you're with God unless you're happy to be God. You can't say, I want this kingdom unless you're happy to have it. Am I making sense? Bridget, text me and let me know I'm talking all right. You can't say you're a son of God unless you're happy in being his son. Because if you're not happy in a relationship, you're not going to tell anybody about it. If you're not happy, if you feel abused and battered and shot down in a relationship, you're not going to invite anybody to it. You are not going to brag on anything that's abusing you. You are not going to show joy on anything that's hurting you. You can't say you're the offspring of God if you're not happy. Because a happy person talks too much. A happy person talks a lot. A person who's blessed talks a lot. When you're happy, you can't keep things to you. When you're happy, you can't keep it to yourself. When you know you are the offspring of God and it's had an impact on your self-esteem, you can't shut up. You are not shy when you're that happy. Because when you're happy, you don't fear judgment. When you're happy, you don't fear making a mistake. When you see, when in Louisiana, when we were in Louisiana, when we were happy, we didn't even have to know the dance right. We got out on the floor just doing stuff. We didn't even have to dance right. When you're happy, you don't fear judgment. Write that down. When we are happy, we don't feel judgment. Because all of your mistakes are goofiness in the process. When I'm happy, I don't have to dance right. Because my happiness is my goal and not how I dance. Am I making sense? Are you happy being saved? Has this enlightenment produced happiness? Before it gives you the answer on anything else in life, enlightenment will make you happy. Because when you're happy, there is no fear of being judged. When you're happy, there is no fear of correction. Now, when correction destroys you, you're not happy. You understand? Has enlightenment elevated your self-esteem? Are you happy to be a son of God? Are you happy? Because when you're happy in the life, can't no man make you feel bad. Can't no man, can't no nothing. Because whatever approves you, you live the nature of that approval. But if you have yet to allow God to approve you, you will live the nature of the thing that has. So if you want approval from a regular person, you will never have supernatural strength because you constantly seek regular validation. But when the supernatural has approved you, then anybody else's common anger a common disagreement won't bother you because you've been made rich from a higher validation. You only have fear when you're living what you don't want. And when I'm not happy, I'm constantly in fear. And you can't make yourself happy. Let me go to the water. That'll make me happy. No, you're still sad because you need little things to get your mind off of something. Getting your mind off of pain isn't happiness. That's called an escape. When you are happy, you don't have to go anywhere. When you are happy and when you have the fullness of joy, you don't have to go anywhere. But when you want an escape, you'll look for water. You'll go to the movie. You'll go to somebody's house. You'll call somebody because you're looking for an escape. And you don't ever get a recharge from an escape. You understand? Hey, that's my time. I'm not going to bore you. You've had a long day, but you can always watch the replay. Go to the App Store or Google Store and get my app, Fizer Global. There's going to always be something I'm writing on there to stir up the souls of happy people. I have a podcast, I got videos, I got everything on there. You can order books, but if you're not happy, you won't read. Have you ever been unhappy trying to finish a book? Can't. You can't read unhappy. You can't do your assignments unhappy. You can't be unhappy with the Spirit and talk with the Spirit. You feel me? Hey, if you want to invest a seed of any amount, you see on the ticker there that Cash App Coach Fizer, $ Coach Fizer, or you can give on PayPal through the app, okay? If you have any questions, email me or text me. You can contact me if you want to. There's always a way, whenever there is a will. I'm Undrai Fizer, praying for you today. Peace.